Welcome to Rise and Shine, your daily business tech boost with me, Charly Leetham. If you're a small business owner looking to simplify technology and get real, actionable advice from someone with 35 years of IT experience, you're in the right place. Every episode, I'll dive into tools and systems like email, CRM, marketing and tracking, and I'll break them down into bite-sized tips you can use straight away. Your time is valuable, so let's get straight to the point. It's time to work smarter, not harder. Rise and shine. It's your dose of business tech inspiration with me, Charly Leetham. Episode number 621, and I'm going to be answering the question. I'm going to try and answer the question, should you test website speed test scores? I'm sure you've all been to the speed testing tools, the Google page rank, the Google page speed, and put your website address in and gone, what am I going to come up with? Wait for that score to pop up. And then you see it. Maybe it's an 85, maybe it's a 42, maybe you get that bright green, excellent, or a depressing red, needs work. Here's the question. Should you actually trust those scores, or are they just numbers on a screen that don't really reflect the real experience your visitors are having? Going to dig into it a bit. What are those what are those speed tests? Sorry, I don't mean to stutter. What do those website speed tests actually measure? Tools like Google Page Speed Insights, GTmetrix, Pingdom, or Lighthouse are designed to measure how quickly your site loads and how efficiently it runs. They're diagnostic tools, they're not final judgments. What they measure are things like the total load time. So how long does it take from the time you put the address into the address bar to the time that page is fully loaded, the last image, the last video, the last piece of information is sent to your browser. That's the total load time. The time to the first byte, how long does it actually take from the time you press enter on your address bar to getting a response back from the server? The first contentful paint, yep, all terminology, all jargon as far as I'm concerned. The largest contentful paint, I know, right? And a whole bunch of other, here we go, core web vitals, all jargon. These metrics give you snapshots of how your site behaves from the moment someone requests to view it or hits it. But it gets tricky because different tools use different benchmarks. PageSpeed Insights, for example, puts a huge emphasis on Google's core web vitals. GTmetrix and Pingdom give you what we call waterfall charts showing every file being loaded. So if you look at it, you'll say this file loaded and then this file loaded and then this. So it looks like a waterfall, basically. Lighthouse simulates a slower device to mimic real-world browsing. The same site can score very differently depending on which tool you use. And that is certainly what I find. When someone says my page is loading slowly, I go and run it across several sites to see what sort of results I'm getting and what information I can get out of it. Remember what I said, they're diagnostic tools. And even within the tools, the results vary. A test from Sydney will give you a different results than a test from New York. Testing on a fast desktop over Wi-Fi will look way better than a budget Android on 4G. That's why you're going to see your site get a 90 in one test and a 60 in another. So the first thing to understand is that these tools don't deliver universal truth. They're giving you a specific reading at a specific time under specific conditions. That's the thing that I really want you to remember out of that little bit. Sometimes these scores can be downright misleading, specifically, stuttering again, specifically if you take them at face value. The biggest issue is that the score is not the same thing as real world user experience. Just because Google says your site scores 92 doesn't actually mean your users actually feel like it's lightning fast. Or on the flip side, as I often experience, a score of 60 might sound bad, but your visitors might still think the site is fine and loads smoothly and quickly for them. The next thing is that tools weigh metrics differently. One might dock you heavily for unused CSS, while others just don't care. One might simulate slow 3G connections, while another uses broadband speeds. That's why chasing a perfect 100 is often a waste of time. You're optimizing for the test, not the audience. The third thing, single test results are unreliable. I'm going to wait for the hate on that one. Maybe your hosting was having a temporary hiccup. Maybe your CDN cached something differently, your content delivery network. Maybe your server responded a little faster or slower than usual. Maybe the network into your server was congested. Maybe your own connection was congested. A one-off bad score doesn't mean your site is broken. It might just mean conditions weren't ideal in that moment, which is why, saying we want a perfect 100, you're not always going to have ideal conditions. Fourth, caching and content delivery networks, CDNs, can skew things. Your site might look lightning fast on a cached load, but sluggish on the very first visit. A test might capture one version or the other, and suddenly your score jumps around without telling you why. The last thing, there's a trap of chasing the score instead of fixing real issues. Personally, I have seen people obsess over shaving milliseconds off their load time while ignoring things that actually impact the user, like clunky navigation, confusing layouts, slow checkout processes, poorly written content. Those are the things that are really going to impact your visitors. Milliseconds of a load time may or may not. So, how do we do speed tests the right way? I think you should be looking for some trends, not just single numbers. If your site is consistently showing slow numbers across multiple tests, it may well be worth addressing, but don't panic over one bad score. Test in different places and on different devices. If your audience is mostly Australian, testing from Sydney will give you more relevant data than a server in California. And if a big chunk of your traffic comes from mobile devices, make sure you're testing mobile conditions, not just desktop. The third thing, pay attention to the metrics that matter the most. For example, I hope this is going to tell me what it is. Largest contentful paint tells you how long it takes the main part of the page to be visible. Okay, so that's what largest contentful paint. I've got to say it really slowly. It tells you how long it takes the main part of the page to be visible. That matters way more to your users than whether you've got 5K of unused CSS hiding somewhere. It also probably matters way more to your visitors that the largest visible part of your page comes up quickly and the rest of the page takes slower or longer to load, because they're going to be reading that while the rest of it's loading around them. They're not going to notice it. Use the scores as guidance, not as an absolute. If the test tells you to compress images, minify code, or reduce server response time, they're useful pointers, but don't let a single number dictate your strategy. The last thing is to combine speed testing with user analytics. Tools like Google Analytics, even Google Search Console, Hotjar, uh, Webmaster Tools, they can show you how long people actually wait before leaving, whether they're bouncing, how smooth the browsing experience feels. The real world behavior matters way more than a synthetic score. I'm actually going to give you a bit of an anecdote here, particularly with that bit about don't let a single number dictate your strategy. I've had a couple of clients come to me and say, this one metric is really bad and we need to improve it. And I've said to them, well, what's your budget to resolve it? Like, how long do you want me to spend on this? Oh, spend as long as you like. I'm like, no, I'm not going to spend as long as you like, because you really can't afford that. And I've spent a couple of hours going through it, and I'm going to cache this and I'm going to defer that and I'm going to minimize all these images for maybe a percentage increase, less than a percentage increase. Now that's cost them a couple of hours of my time to do that, because it's not just a matter of, oh, you just flip this switch and do that thing and do this thing. You've got to go through a whole process, and if you do one thing wrong out of step, it can break things, it can make it worse, and then you have to back it off. So you've really got to get into it. When I finally went to them and said, okay, this is the best I can do, and here's why, they went, oh, well, we're really happy with how it's loading. It's loading really quickly. Okay. We didn't. That's great. I'm glad you're really happy, because I'm not seeing a huge improvement for everything that I have done here. Now, I had done a lot, but it wasn't a huge improvement in terms of the score. But their perceived experience of the site had improved. So that's a piece of anecdotal stuff. It's happened a couple of times, but it's how much can the human eye and the human brain perceive versus what a digital timer can see? That would probably be my thing on that one. The point is, should you trust the website speed test scores? Not blindly. You use them as tools. They're not the full picture. They can tell you where to look, what to tweak, and how your site might behave under certain conditions. But they can't replace that real-world user experience. Treat them as just one piece of the puzzle. Use them for guidance, compare across multiple tools, and always weigh the results against how your actual audience is experiencing your site. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't a perfect 100. It's happy users who like your site is fast, smooth, and worth coming back to. And by worth coming back to, that's also, it's easy to use. They've got a good navigation. Your content's excellent. They feel like they can get the answers they want. Have you guys played around with speed tests for your site? Have you gone down that rabbit hole? Because I've gone down that rabbit hole several times. Have you had people come to you and say, oh, you need to improve it? And then they've come back and said, well, yes, we've got an improvement, but you haven't really noticed anything. I would love to know. I'd love to know the experiences that you're having, the questions that come up from this sort of stuff that I'm sharing. Come across to my community, askcharlyleetham.locals.com. Join the conversation there. If this video, you can always, jumping ahead there. If this video has been helpful, please give it a like, maybe share it with someone else. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you find out when I drop more content. And guys, I will see you all the day after tomorrow. Bye. Hey there, thanks so much for tuning in to Rise and Shine, your daily business tech boost. I hope today's episode gave you some actionable insights that will make your business tech work smarter for you. If you found value, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other small business owners who could use a daily boost. For more tips, tools, and resources, visit www.askcharlyleetham.com. Until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and let's make tech simple together.